Lauren impersonates Creed on the Morning Waffle next and the spring. Join us after this. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us again. Here we are. Tell us how we look today. Not like personally.
Oh, you can say that too, as long as it's positive.
As long as you say nice things. But we got a new camera in the studio today.
Oh, we do? Is that why there was a moment of adjustment when I got in late?
That's why we made little adjustments there. Because, see it there?
That's a good-looking camera.
Oh, geez.
You all can't see it.
That's a large camera.
Yeah, it's kind of a, it's a nice, it's a Blackmagic Pro, 4K Pro.
That's fancy.
Just kind of
industry standard,
right? Kind of the industry standard for live streaming. I talked to a professional videographer about which camera to get, which lens to get. The only drawback is we did not have a professional videographer set it up or configure it.
Well, Will, I just don't know what to say. You should have done that. And all your free time.
It was like, I'll read the manual.
I did it. I'm just not a professional.
Hired a professional.
Hired.
You should have, with our enormous budget.
Yeah, with our budget, yeah.
Oh, man. Well, it looks good to me for what it's worth.
Okay. Yeah,
Softening effect. So. I like that. That's much better than a harsh effect, Emma.
And we've got
none of us are at the age where
5 studio lights trying to make this happen and all that.
I'm chugging
coffee. We're one studio light away from me, like off the show, because I told you if I have to start coming early to put makeup on, I ain't doing it.
You look majestic, Ballard.
It is spring soccer season though, so I'm starting to get the widow's peaks getting burned up here, and came home after coaching on Friday, and I was just like, oh man, I forgot I'm getting old. I got to put sunscreen up here or start wearing one of those floppy fisherman hats.
This whole side of my head, has got to, because
is that the origin of fisherman's hats? It's
the retreating of the hairline.
Protection.
Yes,
it's good to know.
Well, and if you're like me, my dad's 80 and he's had a few things burned off his face from the years of being out and sun exposure. It's like, oh, skin cancer, that's in my future.
That's a real thing.
That's a real deal. Yeah. I used to be that guy who was like, oh, son, yes, I'm going to go get burned. I'll be tan.
Yeah, you don't really, are you a tan person? Do you get
I used
tan?
to tan,
okay.
yeah, but the older I get, you start losing that ability to tan. The pigment
Is that
changes.
A thing?
It's a thing.
I
it's
didn't
a thing.
know
Oh,
that.
it's coming. It's coming. So now it's like, I used to go straight to tan. Now I burn a lot more. So all of a sudden, the fisherman's hat is becoming a reality. But I'm like, the girls, it was 2 weeks ago, we were at a Lebanon tournament. It's like 30 degrees outside.
Ugh, yeah.
And I'm lathering up with sunscreen. And the girls are like, Ballard, it's March. And I'm like, exactly. It's March. It's cold and you can still get sun and wind burned. And
nobody got time for skin cancer.
They were laughing at me. All right, I'm embracing the oldness.
Nobody got time for that.
Oh, man. Remember when people used to use tanning beds all the time?
Oh, gosh. I repent.
I repent.
Well, no. So my dad, had a travel agency for fishermen, and so we would travel the world, and oftentimes we would go to South America in the winter
Okay.
And so, it's winter. You're just white as can be. So I would go hit a tanning bed a couple times so that the introduction into a tropical climate wouldn't be so drastic.
In South America, that's where Al Gore put the ozone hole, too.
Oh.
So
specifically right
that
there.
Makes I didn't know that, but now
Will, have you ever done a tanning bed?
I have.
Had nothing to do with the equator, huh?
Not that I'm aware of, but no, we the band trip. We took a trip to Hawaii a few years ago, and I did the tanning bed for the base tan.
For the base tan,
so I didn't get too burned being down there in the Hawaii.
Let me destroy my skin cells now, so that I can enjoy life
in advance. But what I did notice,
really funny to me about that.
Well, it's pretty hilarious. But
Christmas with the Cranks.
So I'm looking. Oh, that's the one right there. Oh, hello, Pastor John. But I think that marketing is an interesting thing, and this is almost inverse marketing. But they did the whole thing, and if people were trying to talk you out of the tanning beds, they would you have a 110% increase in your chance to get skin cancer if you use a tanning bed, but you have to consider what that means. That means you had a 0.05% chance of getting skin cancer, and because of the tanning bed, you now have a 0.1% chance.
Oh.
So it's not like, that's like...
See, that math really gets in the way.
It does.
When you
math
start,
matters,
when you start
kids.
doing the actual math, it really gets in the way.
You can't take that thing as face value. I mean, what they said is exactly correct. It's just that big number makes it look way worse than it really is.
Yeah, percentages are a fun thing.
Yeah, they really are.
Facts. Well, we got those.
Yes.
I don't know, there's something really funny about you in a tanning salon, just because tanning salons are so very tanning salons.
Yeah. It wasn't my favorite thing to do.
I can see that.
And honestly, the worst part about it for me, trying to lay there still for 10 minutes.
That was my deal, and I'm claustrophobic too.
Yeah.
So the idea of laying in a coffin still for about 15 minutes makes me want to crawl out of my skin.
I'm a big nap guy, so for me it was just I'm going to get a 20-minute nap
having
here.
a little bit of sleep.
But you gotta rotate though. You gotta turn over and stuff.
Do you? No, you don't.
I don't think so. Did you sit there and rotate?
Yeah.
Like on a spit.
Rotisserie will.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know.
Rotisserie.
That kind of claustrophobic. I'm not that kind of claustrophobic because I can control.
Yes, I can push this thing up.
I can push it up.
Yep.
It's the you want me to crawl through that concrete tube?
Yes.
Not doing it.
Yeah, me too. If my rule is if I can do a complete turn in something,
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Yep.
If I would have to back out or somebody being behind me can now trap me in,
Yep.
I ain't doing it.
So have you been in the City Museum in St. Louis?
Yes. Yes.
Well, maybe.
There's a thing where it's like
the little maze deal.
You go, well, the maze is the thing, but it's like you crawl under the concrete floor in this tube and you go through. And I just like my nightmare is there's a large person in front of me and a large person behind me.
Yep. And you're stuck.
And I'm stuck.
Yep.
In the tube.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to be stuck anywhere.
If there's any chance that I need to, be plunged out of something.
No thanks.
There's a visual for you.
The Will Rotisserie and the Great Ballard plunging. You heard it here first on the Waffle. Parking behind you, that is the thing in the realtor world. Like, we don't park in driveways in general because we don't want to get blocked in. And so my poor clients they just park behind me. And I'm like, no, you can park there. I don't want to park there. You can park there.
Yeah.
And then we just are all parked in the street and no one's in the driveway. Yeah. That always cracks me up. It's like
this massive, driveway that holds 6 cars.
Yes, and we'll be parked in the street. And the neighbors are like, you're
Quick
blocking
escape.
my mailbox. Yep.
Well,
good times.
Good times. Anybody else ever been stuck in a tube? I don't know, but
leave it in the comments if you have.
My claustrophobia stems from, I'm pretty sure, the brothers locking me in those trunks. Like,
Yeah, that would do it to you.
There was an episode as a kid at the grandparents' house where I got in one of those trunks and then someone sat on the lid and I've never been the same.
That will scar.
And then also,
I've been there.
My great grandma used to make those really heavy comforters. They were like patchwork quilts, but they had the real heavy, like, not felt, obviously, but something like heavy backing, flannel.
Yep.
And they'd wrap you up in those to the point of near suffocation. And that's when, nope.
I can't think of a triggering event.
I was triggered.
More just it just seems like a bad idea.
It's terrible.
It was purely intellectual on Will's part. Like, I'm doing the maths here.
Statistics are not good.
I know what percentages of oxygen in my lungs that I need, and that could be short supply. So forget about it.
Oh, yeah.
So we had a big time at the Wildcat Gala Saturday night.
We did.
K-ROG had a table there, and Lauren was there.
Sad to miss it.
Yeah.
Was it a good time?
It was a nice time. It was a very nice time.
Bruce and Deb were there. Bruce, a big part of us, what we're doing here, and the Resource Center, and Tom Turton came.
Tom Turton, man, bringing in the professionals.
I got to talk to Shelby. I always like it when I get to sit and talk to Shelby.
Yeah, Shelby made an appearance, so that's my
in public.
I know that's my. It's just it has to happen every once in a while just to prove people that she exists.
It's
not so much about Shelby not being in public. It's the you decided to be in public with her.
Oh no, I'm happy to have her.
Will's
all the time.
just too much.
No, I know you want to be with her. It's that you actually wanted to be out, in the evening instead of being
that's right.
in the hidden layer.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
In other words, we're not blaming Shelby for this phenomenon. This is you.
There's no blame, Shelby.
She's much more of an introvert than I am. So
I always enjoy talking to her though. It was fun, and I think Jesse liked getting to sit by Tom Turton.
Yeah, it was nice. Rubbing some elbows.
Yeah, like hey Tom.
And then Garrick and Steph were there.
They're super sweet.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Nice.
So we're glad to have them.
They're so nice people. Oh my gosh.
Very nice. And
salt of the earth.
Money got raised, and
it was good. It was good.
It was good.
All for the kids.
Good crowd.
Money was disseminated. Gave out some grants that night.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there were teachers there who got specific grants for specific things, and I always like that when you know that.
Yeah.
I like it when you know where the money's going.
And the food is good. That's one thing that I think when we used to do these things all the time, you're like, I get the rubber chicken, you do the thing, but. This is my third gala-ish type thing at that White River Room, and the food has always been good.
Yeah,
every single time.
They do a good job. I think they kind of know what they're doing there,
I guess so, but
a little bit hospitality.
It's a little bit. It's kind of another dinner. Yeah, where's it go? Oh, White River Room. We're going. So
it'll be good
all the time. It's the new place to do those things apparently.
And then there's another gala coming up. Safe Haven's got theirs on April 8th.
Safe Haven's got one. There's
that's at Creedstown.
There's an FCA banquet coming up at the White River
gala
Room.
Season. Holy moly!
My goodness.
Gala. We debated this every episode. I don't know.
Is that an LRFCA thing or is that a regional FCA thing?
I do not know, actually. I got an invite to sit at a table and then had to decline it. But so I don't know if it was regional or national or galactic or which it was.
Intergalactic?
Intergalactic.
What does intergalactic mean? Does that mean in the galaxy?
I think it would be all the galaxies.
Yeah,
is it all
inter would be all of the galaxies. Intra would be within our galaxy.
Within our galaxy, yeah.
Okay.
Latin, wonderful.
Yep.
Study.
I missed that class in school.
Et tu, Brute?
I was not polished up on my Latin.
My Duolingo is currently set to Latin.
Is it?
Yeah, and I mean every day without fail, I clear the reminder that tells me I should do it.
That's
without doing it. So
I love language.
Faithfully,
just in general.
Faithfully go. Yeah, I should do that, but I'm not going to. I do too, and I really like it, but I don't know.
It was funny. Sunday, I got tripped up. I was talking about the Greek word Eucharisto, and I couldn't get it to come out of my mouth. It took me about 3 tries, and I'm like,
Crisco.
Eucharist.
Yeah, if I would have just gone like to the English, transliteration.
That's funny.
But anyway, but I'm trying to sound smart. I'm like Eucharist. Yeah. So anyway,
Soli Deo Gloria. Continue.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yep. So we got a lot of rain last week. That was fun.
Oh boy.
Almost covered Highway 60.
I was surprised.
It was trying. It was bringing in.
Of the times that we've seen that happen in the past, I was certain this was going to be one of them because that was Thursday night that it really kind of did the thing, and we had a men's discipleship retreat that I led to see John Wick 4.
Did you canoe out of the theater?
And IMAX, which was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was crazy. The hail that came down that night.
There was
a friend of mine actually had a little spin up, a little small little tornado.
I heard something about some nadir damage.
Yeah. His little, I don't want to call it a barn, little covering that he keeps his hay under, was up in the tree. So. I was asking him, are you sure it wasn't straight line winds? He goes, well, right here, this stuff got blown this way, and this went up in the tree this way. So I'm like, yeah, that sounds like rotation to me.
Yep. At one point, though, we actually I could hear, I don't know if anybody else could, inside the theater, I could hear.
Loud.
I'm like, that sounds like
some heavy hail, some
rain
thick stuff.
Hail. Yeah. And when we drove home, there's where Pedalo Creek runs under U Highway.
Yes.
Was well over U Highway, and I have rarely, if ever, seen that.
Really?
And let alone to that depth. And then Sassafras, our road, just a few places were not fully underwater. And I got home, and I'm just dreading it because I'm like, our basement's
the
flooded.
basement.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
basement.
yeah.
Basement's gonna. There's no way.
How'd your sump pump do?
There's no way. Dry as a bone.
Yes.
Hey, you
mine
fixed
was
it.
not.
Keith-
but
Keith
I'm
Snyder.
glad yours is.
Keith
fixed
Snyder,
it.
you're the man.
Good job,
He
Keith.
fixed it. Our pond was
that's
full.
big. That's a big test.
We've been dealing with it for a decade.
Because
And,
my basement's a little
sure
older
enough.
than your basement, and
Dad.
there, I'll bet. And so I have no delusion that my basement will ever be dry as a bone, and that's just what happens when you live in 100-year-old house that has a basement in
Well, I
Missouri.
think when they built basements back then, they expected them to get wet.
yeah.
I mean, there was no expectation.
just a matter of how
nobody
you-
was going to
yeah.
finish their basement.
No.
You weren't going to. That wasn't
That's
the
for
intent.
storage, period.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because I remember my grandmother's basement. I mean, it's sump pump. It'd get wet. It was just kind of
yeah,
part of the
it's
thing. But
just
there
part of
were
the deal.
just shelves, wooden shelves, painted with that thick, paint all around with just jars and jars and jars and jars of old pickled
Did anyone ever eat
tomatoes.
pickles?
No, not that I recall.
No.
I don't know, maybe.
Somebody
Ate those
did.
pickles?
But just tons of canned food, but not in cans, in
in
jars.
the jars.
Jars, yeah.
The,
jars.
the legit old school stuff.
The real deal.
Yeah, so ours, where we did work on it did very well. There were some areas because this was the first massive flood situation that's occurred since we demoed the basement, and when that Thursday evening peak about 8 p.m. when things got real crazy, here came the water, and we're like, oh no! But it is what it is.
It's a lot of water in a short period of time, for sure.
Well, and I was explaining to my friend, like, Rogersville floods. Yep, good morning, Beth. Rogersville floods in places where there's no rivers or creeks. In addition to the rivers and creeks,
Yep.
it appears
Just
in
pools up.
fields and then runs into
Those
designated
underwater
sinkholes
creeks
somewhere.
and lakes
Yeah,
just kind
it's
of
pretty
seep
wild.
up through the ground. It's pretty amazing.
Yep, but I mean, this could be the last rain we get all year because that's kind of how things have been. the past couple of
Hopefully,
years.
hopefully not yet. Hopefully not
no,
yet.
we've still got a month or two of tornadoes.
Yeah, we got to get through June
And
before
big
it all
thunder boomer
before the
storms.
tap turns off completely.
We were talking about how we think Tornado Alley has really changed because it seems like in the South they get a whole lot more large, more Oklahoma type tornadoes than when I was a kid remembering seeing there. But I don't know if I'm remembering.
Well, the South gets it in February and March, even January some.
Is that what it
and
is?
And then it starts moving up our way, March, April into May.
What was it, Mississippi or Alabama?
You
that
go up to
got it?
Minnesota, they start
Mississippi.
getting it in June and even July. So it's really
crazy.
regional. But I'm no Tom Turton.
That's true, yeah. I just like the fact that the tornadoes around here tend to track slightly north of I-44. You can almost bet on it.
Yeah,
it's like there's a little barrier.
The plateau effect is real.
Yeah, it really is.
We were talking about the
the
plateau
hilly
over the
and
weekend. Is
high ground.
really Springfield just the plateau, or does it like is Rogersville in the same plateau?
It starts there and it actually extends into it's a region.
Yeah.
The plateau is a region.
Yeah, but like, how big is it? Like, is Rogersville in the plateau?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about that. There's often discussions of the
Branson's not.
plateau.
It's in its own little hill.
It's
area,
in its it's in
If
the
any of our
hills.
viewers know a outline of the plateau,
But the
please
hills actually work against tornadoes.
If you were
Yeah,
someone you
that
know
makes
as a
sense.
cartographer,
because the way that it works with the ground, any kind
Well,
of
that makes sense.
any
It's
kind
all
of terrain,
updrafts and
yeah,
stuff that cause
tornadoes likes
naders.
it flat.
yeah,
Yeah.
because of the updraft. That's right. The hills do change that.
Yep.
It's very interesting. I think the weather and
Do we get Tom Turton on here to talk
topography
more
and
about
Oh,
all
I'm
that
sure we
stuff is
can.
very
Yeah, I don't
interesting.
see that as being a problem whatsoever.
We have a green screen over there. He could probably
That's
point
right.
at things and
Absolutely.
I did a recent tour for a doctor looking at moving in the area, and she asked about the weather, and I was like, "Well, it's crazy.
it's nuts. I
don't know
tell
what
you,
else
it's
to say.
We've got it all.
You will get everything.
We got
here.
it all the weather.
all of it." But I mean, in fairness, there's a couple weeks a year that are kind of unbearably hot, and a couple weeks that are unbearably cold. But other than that, temperature-wise, it's not
great.
bad.
I love
It's
four
good.
seasons. I mean, I
do
really
too.
do.
And
we're
we have
blessed.
11, so
Yeah, we're
Fall,
trying to
spring
figure out
one,
what
fall,
number
spring
fall
two.
spring we're in right
Yeah,
now.
right.
Could be number 4, could be number 5. We don't know.
yeah. Well, it keeps things exciting, that's for sure.
But I do feel like the world decided it was spring because it got real green and the trees are budding out. It's happening, and the birds are chirping at about 6 a.m. because
It
they're
was
waking me up.
Awesome when I drove out of the driveway this morning, just get in my truck, just hearing the birds chirping. I'm like, yeah, it's on. It's on.
Nice. It's on.
Tragedy struck Rogersville this morning, and I did not discover it until it was almost too late.
What happened?
The Coke machine is down at the McDonald's.
Dadgummit.
So
we need the small things.
You went
in
to
the
Sonic,
world.
eh?
So I got
Sonic
I got my food at McDonald's, and I got my Diet Coke at the Sonic. So
is it true?
Or we got our coffee at Storytime. So I think we're supporting it all.
that's right.
Is it true that McDonald's gets their syrups in stainless steel containers, or is that a myth? Do you know?
I do not know the answer to that question.
You've seen boxes?
Yeah.
I do. I have heard, and I believe potentially it's true that their syrup mix is slightly different.
That's, I think, a fact. Yeah.
And I think that primarily all it is that it's thicker, with the idea that
doesn't sound better.
Well, but it still gets mixed.
More corn syrup.
It still gets mixed with the CO2 and the liquid and the water and all that stuff.
Bubbles.
But the idea is that as the ice melts in your McDonald's drink, it's not going to water down as bad as it will.
So you have a better taste.
I thought it was about the water filtration system.
Well, now I have heard that too.
The soda.
That
Curious.
Which is huge on coffee. If you ever, you can go to a different coffee shop, sell the same beans or brew the same beans, and it's all about the water.
Yeah.
If the water quality's off, it will.
And actually, I did
change the
hear
flavor.
that from someone who owned a McDonald's and said that they put in this crazy good water filtration for the ice and everything in there, that it's just like super pure.
So you're getting primo ice from Mickey D's probably.
Yep.
Again, this is another thing. If you can confirm or deny this, just comment. Let us know.
My trick at Sonic is I always order light ice.
Isn't that
That's
the
a
best
good
part of Sonic though?
Well,
the ice.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and I'm not complaining, and I want to make that clear. You get a small drink, it almost doesn't matter what size drink you get at a Sonic because of the shape and the size of their ice, which is fantastic. Mm-hmm. If it fills up the whole container,
you don't have much drink.
There's not that much difference in your actual beverage from small to Route 44 because of the ice.
Can we do scientific
so much
experiments on
ice.
The only time I tolerate that full ice is
with water.
Is if I'm at an outdoor event where it's super, super hot. Mm-hmm. And we've, of course, sold a lot to outdoor events, but you fill it up, you do make more of a profit. But then if you're outside, it's like, all right, now I get the best part, the ice. I just sit here and just kind of munch on this ice for the next 30 minutes.
Well, if it's ice water, fill it up with ice. I mean, that's
no, I'm talking about any drink, because it's like the ice now is the treat after, because it's 100 degrees and I'm watching an event outside.
So you're looking for a snow cone.
Yeah, basically. Except without all the sugar.
And that's okay.
Because I don't do soda. So
no, I understand.
When was the last time you drank a soda?
That's a great question.
You need to figure that out.
I quit drinking soda when I was 16.
Wow.
I've had maybe just a handful of a root beer.
Yeah.
Occasionally,
okay, so when you were 16, I'm trying to picture 16-year-old Ballard. You're like, I'm done with soda. Like, how did that happen?
I don't know. I'm a weird dude.
You are weird. That's weird.
I wasn't even pursuing athletics at that point. I was busy working. So
that seems like something you decided when you were 28.
I've always wanted to be in shape. So
okay.
It's like you're reading all this stuff and you're like, that's really not good for you. Just decided I'm done with it.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. This is an interesting case study on Ballard. When you're 16, I'm picturing it. I'm going to quit soda.
What would blow your mind even more, in so many ways, was I undisciplined in that phase of my life, but I decided to start.
That was the thing.
I'm going to add
that
this
was the
discipline.
beginning of the self-discipline was the soda?
I guess so.
Interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
Very interesting.
Yeah, I got nothing.
I'm trying to. Will, do you have any conscious decision you made as a 16-year-old that you would then carry out the rest of your life? He's like, I don't know.
No.
Will has tried to forget most of his 16 and younger years.
I had a conversation, and you guys may disagree with me on this, but I had a conversation yesterday with a person that I feel like 30-year-olds are really the movers and shakers of the world, because when you're, a teenager, you're a mess. When you're in your 20s, it's a very development time of who you are as an adult, right? And there's a big difference between 21 and 28. And of course, this is all different for every person and every life, obviously. But then in your 30s, you're still trying to come up in the world. Typically, you've got young children. And then by the time you get in your 40s, which I'm getting real close to being there, I've already put myself mentally in my 40s 3 years ago. And
it's not that bad.
You're a little set in your ways, and you're starting to get the little little selfishness, you know what I mean? But thoughts on this. So what is and then we were talking about how weird that is in relationship to when you can run for president, because you can't run until you're like 35 or whatever it is.
Correct. What I thought was interesting was when I was probably in my late teens, early 20s, there was a show on TV called 30-somethings. Oh, yeah. And those were old people. You know, they were old. They were, adults, and they're old. I'm like, that's an interesting perspective, because I was sitting down, I think yesterday, having coffee with a friend of mine who is, I think he's about 72. And we were talking about how stupid 30-year-olds are. Like that we were stupid, like we made a lot of stupid mistakes when we were 30 because, you just haven't matured yet and all that stuff. So
interesting.
Just an interesting perspective.
Yeah, it is interesting.
I think in my 20s, I was busy trying to prove to everybody that I knew everything. But somewhere in my 30s, valid. It was probably around 33, so I always kind of put it in there. That was my Jesus age. Where you wake up and go, oh, look what he accomplished in 33 years. And
yeah, but he was Jesus. That's what you got to remind yourself.
Yeah. But there is this like significant turn around those early 30s.
33 is a specific age, I feel like.
Yeah.
For a lot of people.
You do sort of go, I got to grow up now.
I started I had a hunger for knowledge. And so instead of trying to prove to everybody how much I knew, I was willing to admit how much I needed to learn. Yeah. And then in my 40s, all of a sudden, it was like, I can be myself. Mm-hmm. I really can. I don't need to, I don't need to put on for anybody.
Oh, just wait till you turn to get to your 50s.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, no, I'm getting really close. So as I approach,
the give a darn seems to.
Yeah.
It kind of does.
Well, yeah, I've recently, and we don't need to get into specifics, but please, but I've kind of come under fire for some things, and people are like, oh, hey,
I think we can talk about that.
I've been thinking about you, and it's like, look, I'm approaching, I'm in my upper 40s.
I'm a big boy.
Yeah, and as a pastor, you have to have thick skin and a sensitive heart. Mm-hmm. I've had thick skin and a hardened heart, and that ain't good for nobody.
It's not good.
But if you have soft skin and a soft heart, you're just going to be miserable all the time, whining and concerned about what everybody thinks. But you get to that age where you get really comfortable in your own skin, and you're fine with people disagreeing with you.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. It takes a while. I'm not there.
For me, I have to work really hard to make sure that I still love people and care for people. I don't let that become a hardness of heart. But thick skin is a valuable thing, as long as you can keep your heart soft towards other people.
There is, if I could go back that question and tell yourself anything, I think one of the things I think I would say is, there is absolutely zero substitute for experience. I mean,
absolutely.
None.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
None. It doesn't matter how much you read, how much you study.
Boy, that is true.
It is the experience. And the idea that I wish it had occurred to me sooner, that the idea, the ability to sit down with people older than you and give you wisdom is just valuable. And man, I hate to be the grumpy old guy, except I love being the grumpy old man. But when I'm
wear it well.
When I'm serious, it hurts my heart, because I don't want to be that way. But gosh, these kids seem so unwilling, just unwilling to even consider that somebody older than them might have something intelligent
confidently
to say.
wrong.
One thing Shane and I have, we started.
It feels so much worse than I was, and I'm sure I wasn't great, but I mean, just the contempt.
Well, we agreed early on that when we got to be the older ones, that we wouldn't use the same phrases we heard, like, oh, they're just young and dumb, like things we heard when we were 20 that were so offensive. And now, as I'm approaching 50. I know they were right.
Yeah.
And yet we want to.
But they were so unkind. Yeah. And I don't want to be unkind about it.
Yeah, so that's our thing, is that, when I'm sitting with somebody in their 20s and I see the confidence, I see the zeal, all that stuff I remember having in my 20s, I don't want to squash that.
Yeah.
No, because it's important.
But I want to model for them humility. So instead of these like calloused corrections, I just want to tell stories and let them watch me deal with it differently, and hopefully they learn a little bit. And it may take a decade before they look and go, oh, that's what he was trying to teach me.
You're in trouble when you're in worship service and you're like, man, this music is too loud.
Yet you can't hear at the same time. What is that?
Well, I know. I can't hear.
Why is it so loud?
And there's
so weird.
I had a lot of people around me, my own age, close, telling me, man, I'm an elder, and they're like, the music's so loud. Can we do anything about that? Blah, blah, blah. And so I kind of start walking down that road, like, okay, how do we fix this? This is too loud. Let's fix it. And then I'm like, wait a minute. no, I'm not going to do that.
Don't
And
be that guy.
I went back to those people and I said, listen,
turn down your miracle ear.
I said, no. I said, this is the sacrifice you're going to make. You're going to demonstrate humility and a servant-hearted attitude towards the younger people in this congregation and deal with the music the way it is.
It's not about preference, is it?
It's not, particularly for something like that. But I mean, I felt that because, that's what we dealt with was, when we grew up, that the contemporary style of worship was emerging in this area in the 80s and early 90s. And so, hey, we're into that. Let's do that. These hymns are great.
Your microphone's tapping, and I was like,
it's probably me too.
Okay.
And just the older folks in the congregation so resistant to singing a chorus, a praise song that wasn't in the All-American hymnal.
Yeah.
And I love the All-American hymnal. I've got one. I went out and specifically went to find one so I would have one, a paper copy. Mm-hmm. And I just remember that struggle. And I just, at the time, I'm like, God, help me never to be like that.
Yeah.
And maybe he did that little tap on the shoulder and said, don't be like that.
Well, I think I shared last week that I went to see the movie Jesus Revolution, and there was a great little moment in that film about just that setting. Just there's the older folks feeling threatened by a new thing coming into the church. Wasn't a new thing as in let's rethink who Jesus was, but a new way of expressing our adoration of who he is. So it's real. It's a human experience, and you wake up one day and you realize, oh, I'm the old guy in the room.
Yeah.
And you get to decide how are you going to take your turn at being the old guy?
Yeah.
You're going to be grouchy and complain and gripe, or are you going to help people along with what you wished you'd have been helped along with in your 20s?
Well, golly, it's all about taking up your cross and laying down your life for somebody else. And if you can't do that with the style of music in your church, then heaven help you, I think. A little bit,
Yeah.
Where else would you find a better place to model that type of servant-hearted?
Exactly.
I think it goes down to pick your battles.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to some extent.
It's not like the marker of truth has been moved. It's just an expression of truth. How we speak it or sing it or whatever. So, you pick the big battles. When something is a falsehood, you need to be willing to say it. And
absolutely,
amen to that.
Well, it's been a conversation a lot for me in the last couple of weeks. Is this concept of unity at all costs? And whether we're talking about spiritual things or secular things, for me everything's spiritual. But and that's not because I'm a pastor, just because God created everything. But you can't have unity at all costs, because that actually means compromise. Mm-hmm. And so the real marker is you have to be willing to be kind. Yes, Beth, you have to be kind even when you disagree.
Well, in the recent controversy, I had a conversation last night with Kevin Lane. We went to the chef's meeting, which was awesome. Steve-O made sushi, showed us how to make sushi. But we're coming back and we're talking about some of these issues. And I think what we kind of concluded was, right now there's a lot of ugliness on display.
Yep.
And the bride of Christ is not looking good because of the way we've been treating each other. And there is, and I think you've done a great job. I think I've seen most pastors around here do a really good job of dealing with the issues that are kind of out there. But a lot of that actually needs to be an in the family kind of conversation, not an out there on Facebook.
Well, I think it's
in front of the world.
I think it's okay for the leaders. What you did, I'm just going to say it, is brave, right? And I know you don't want that.
I don't even feel
feedback,
that.
And you don't feel that.
Yeah, it was not about bravery.
But in my mind, it is, because I feel like we have far too many leaders in the world not
receiving accountability.
I think our biggest problem is we are not holding people accountable for their actions.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We are ignoring enormous problems because we are far too distracted by, I mean, you're distracted by us this morning, but hopefully we're providing insight and good information in your life and some
entertainment, edification.
And let's be clear, like, I'm not Paul. I'm not an apostle, right? But yet we learned from the apostles. Mm-hmm. So when the book of Colossians was written to correct false teaching in the church, Galatians as well, those books were, yes, given to a specific church, but they were also passed around to all the other churches, right? Because it was not just specifically for what's going on here that is off, but everybody needs to hear this. So you said, Paul, how unkind of you to go public with this. This was a private matter. That is a falsehood. That is logically missing a lot, right? And so sometimes there's a time to go public, right?
Yeah.
When the greatest spiritual influencer in our region has a misstep, you don't have a chance to go to that person in private because they're not accessible.
No.
And so there is a public response because it affects so much of the public. So there's a time to go public with something, still in kindness, right? Not. And
to be clear, I think you did a good job.
Not to malign somebody, but to bring truth into a situation that is so far-reaching.
Yeah, and like I said, I think you did a good job about what I don't like and what is the kind of the mocking,
the after fodder. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not.
And you were not mocking.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with a website that comes up as a gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable with the back and forth that I've seen. Well, what about this? What about that? Those are great private conversations, as you were saying, in the family.
Being internet infamous is not a good thing.
No, it's dangerous. It can be a very scary thing. If you don't have concern for that person, you're not seeing the situation.
Really frustrated with this rhetoric of we do not need to be bullies, and then the same darn people that are saying that are flipping bullies.
Yeah.
And
it's weird.
It's that. Well, and I finally read a comment that you mentioned on one of your posts, and that person is being a bully. And I know you roll your eyes at it, but it irritates the crap out of me because I'm like, you cannot feed on the losses and missteps of the weakest in society. We have to stop doing that. We have to.
Absolutely.
And we have to start holding people accountable. And I don't know what that means necessarily. Is that punishment? Is it jail? I don't know what that is exactly.
Speak the truth in love. And as you do so, part of that is holding people accountable for the words they use.
Yes, absolutely.
There's no amount of evidences gives you permission to speak falsehood. So you can say, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? You can't attach that to a false statement, right? That's a separate thing. You're talking about two different conversations, right?
Yeah.
So you just have to be willing to say, cap.
Cap.
Calling cap on that.
There you go.
It's an interesting world we are living in.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good.
I've had a number of people private message me like, what do you think about this? And privately,
private conversations.
I'll tell them. I said, and sometimes they think I'm being overly harsh. I don't intend to, but it's sort of my nature.
Yeah.
Beaten out of me perhaps, but
kindness has been on my heart through this whole thing, and I think the last thing I'll say on this, because I said I didn't want to talk about it, but is I wish people could see the full picture. So for 2 weeks, my inbox has been filled with painful stories of the ugly underbelly of that kind of stuff. People that have been hurt coming out of those sorts of things. I didn't get my healing. What about me? I was told it's my fault that my child died. Lots of very ugly, dirty things, but with this veneer on top that makes it seem okay. And I think people need to see the full picture. And again, if you want to sit down with me, I'll buy you a cup of coffee. That's been my response to everybody. It's look, I don't want to argue with you online, but come over to the shop, I'll buy you a cup of coffee, and we'll have a full conversation. I don't want to win an argument. Just want to enlighten you to what the scriptures say and about how real life meets this.
The problem I run into whenever I try to have a conversation about anything like this is there are so many people out there that have said it so much better than I ever could. And so I tend to just refer people to other resources, which
I've been doing a lot of that too.
American Gospel is just a fantastic movie, documentary. I love it.
I like that the new camera doesn't show that I'm crying. A lot of heaviness in the world. A lot.
Which again is why we need to be kind to one another.
Yeah.
Boy, we do. I mean, but at the same time, you can be kind, but you can point out bad behavior.
That's right.
It's okay to call people out on the and
it's
I made a
the
Facebook post last night.
Just tell the truth.
And then JR
tell you the truth.
JR made another comment on that. And you guys are obviously better biblical scholars than I am, but this whole thing of the redemption is just a crutch. Why don't we just try to be good people on a daily freaking basis?
Because we can't.
And I mean,
it's great that we try.
But we can be better.
We can be better.
100%. We can be better.
Paul Washer said something in one of his books I was reading, actually listening to the other night. Salvation is monergistic, but he said, and I'm considering this, and I think he's probably correct. Sanctification is synergistic. That we got to participate in that process, which I think is James's point in his book, primarily. So I'm like, brilliant.
We're coming up on Easter, right? So it's okay if we just make this a little, a little bit about him. It's
a little bit.
Yeah. What he did on the cross is something that only he could do. Mm-hmm. After that, of course, Dallas Willard always says, or is often quoted as saying, grace is opposed to work, right? I'm going to get that wrong, but not opposed to effort, right? So you can't work for it. Jesus worked for your salvation, but in your sanctification, you can effort with him to become more like him.
Brilliant. I love it.
I may have messed up the quote, but I got that ending
you
bit
got
right
the point
to get the point across.
On there. There we go, Beth. Yeah, good. Kindness. Okay. It's 8:33, folks.
Wow.
33?
33?
I got to drop my car off.
33. Boy, there it is again. If you're into numerology, stop it.
I'm not, but that's fun.
So we'll shut this thing down now. Thanks for joining us. Hey, we've got an open house Thursday right here. You can come here, check it out, see it from 4 to 6:30. Just drop in. I'm going to tap my good friend Doug Greenberg to get us some charcuterie out here.
Charcuterie.
From Divine Deli. I'm going to ask him to do that
delicious.
For us. So we'll have some snacks. Just stop by anytime. Come and see what the studio looks like.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
It'll be a good time. So we'll see you Thursday. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back next week.
See you guys.
Bye.